Hey again guys, and welcome back. I think some of you might remember this thing here. This is a little power supply board that I put together. It uses these little DC to DC buck converters, and you put somewhere like 12 volts in, and you get 3.35 and 9 volts out, as well as an extra output, which is just basically whatever you put in. I chose these values because, well, those are the most used. 3.3 and 5 for breadboarding. 9 is like, for a lot of devices like let's say my little mini oscilloscope, a component tester, they use 9-volt batteries, and I mean 9-volt batteries are terrible. That's a story for a different day. So I put these all in a little breadboard, and this thing is quite useful, but I thought it would be better served on a circuit board so it's not so messy. And if I have a circuit board, I can also use sort of surface mount pads in order to make the hookups simpler, so I can choose either the screw terminals or the pads. So let's go over to KiCad and see if we can put it together. Jumping right into KiCad 5.1.2, you see there I can put down my custom circuit schematic symbols that I made for those DC-DC converters in a previous video. You can see I also have my screw terminals, and those TP, those are the test points. Those will be just the little pieces of square copper on the PCB that I can connect to with wire. Setting up all the grounds here. Now there's a lot of grounds, and I'm trying to do this as a net. I could actually connect them point to point, basically every ground with every ground and every positive with every positive, but if you make them on little symbols like this, it makes the PCB step a lot easier, especially if you're going to do a copper pour, which I intend to. I mean, I think it's a proper way is to put a ground pour on all the backs or tops of your PCBs. I'm not quite sure the exact kind of professional way to do it. I just do what seems right to me. Personally, I think if the copper is on the PCB to start with, I want to keep as much copper as possible. Why waste it in an acid etch? And here we go. We just need to assign the footprints now. So I go through a couple of terminals till I find the ones I like, and then a couple test points till I find the ones I like, and the custom footprints is what I use. Then I just load it all up into PCB new. I set a size. I think it was 50 mil by 50 mil. I'd have to go back and check at this point. But basically now I'm just positioning everything. And again, I'm not an expert at this, so I position them kind of how I feel this should be done, maybe not in the best practices. So I've got everything set, and this is kind of what it's going to look like, the final product. So I'm starting to get excited at this point. I make the traces a little bit thicker. I went for a 2mm track instead of the standard 1mm track. Notice I had forgotten something, so I had to go back. I could do the copper pour, do the copper pour on the other side. And now I'm going to change the labeling so the labeling shows up. And you'll see that the silkscreen is going to look a little bit different on this board than it does in the final product. And that's just because I forgot to add some silk screening. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I just like doing this for fun. And so, yeah, I had to go back and add that off camera. Then I noticed that I want my screw terminals to be a little bit higher up. I tend to crowd the boards I build. So I moved them higher up, and I had to re-pour the back. Now I'm putting a little bit of silk screening. And again, it's hard to tell the scale here. I have a 32-inch monitor, so I thought this text was going to be a little bit bigger. It really isn't. And we're just coming up to the end here, and I'll give you a glamour shot. This is the PCB, minus of course the extra silk screening I was talking about, in all its glory. And I'm pretty happy with this thing. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's going to be functional. I really did need something to act as a power supply. So yeah, I'm happy with what it looks like on here, and it'll be even better with the new silkscreen. And the next step is to upload the design to your PCB manufacturer of choice. Of course, this video is sponsored by PCBWay, but you know what? I've been pretty impressed by the workmanship, so I think in the future, even for personal projects, I will be using PCBWay. Either way, I put all the information in here, and while you watch me do that, I can let you know that it took about 15 minutes to approve the design, which is fantastic, and it took about 5 business days from the day that I gave them the design to the day that it showed up at the front door. So it's very quick with DHL shipping, very inexpensive even. You'll see the estimates there. And yeah, I think if you need a PCB built, you should try PCBWay if you haven't yet. And because I am cursed, my SD card stopped recording while I was unboxing it. So let me just recreate the moment for you. Oh, look at this. Look at what just came in the mail. Holy crap, I don't know what's inside. Oh, let's just open it up. Oh, yeah, there's totally, yeah, I've never been in here before. Here, let me open that. Oh, wow, PCBWay. Wow, thank you so much for sending me this. I wonder what the boards look like. Oh my god. Huh. Let's open it up and see. It is PCBWay's 6th anniversary, so I'm expecting there to be some extra gifts in there. My PCBWay contact said there will be. So we'll see what they have sent, but also I want to take a look at my circuit boards, because that's always the best part, especially to see if I messed up the design. Some foam. We got a pen, PCBWay. Yeah, it looks like my other pen. Pretty awesome. What do I have in here? Some 6th anniversary stickers. Oh, I've got a few of them actually. I've got some rulers. Actually, these rulers are super useful. I do use these in design so I could figure out what size of component or footprint I want to put in. So that's really good. And on top of that, it gives me an idea what the silk screen is going to look like. So I got red, black, green, purple, and blue. That's very nice. Here are the boards. I want to look at them, but only in a second. This is a pin for their 6th anniversary. So I think it lights up. Yeah, it looks like there's LEDs on the outside there and a little switch. So I'm going to have to give that a shot to see if it lights up. I'm not quite sure how the pin mechanism works. Oh, pin here. I think you have to solder it on. Interesting. Take a look at that in just a moment. And sorry about the crinkly plastic. A PCBWay t-shirt. Ooh. Material feels pretty good. There's their logo. Screen printing looks pretty good quality. Very nice. And looks like it has their 6th anniversary on there. Trust me, I'm a PCBWayer. Well, I'm also a YouTuber, so 2 reasons to trust me. But yeah, this actually feels pretty good. Feels like really soft. And yeah, you can tell usually if a shirt is crap quality or not by the extra effort they put on the seam behind your neck. I don't know if you'll be able to see because of the brightness here, but they put a sort of a layer on top of that so it doesn't bother you on the neck. So this is actually pretty high quality. And yeah, let's get to these circuit boards. So, just about the size I was expecting. Let's see what they look like. Oh, I guess I failed at that. Let's just get her open here. Yes. This is exactly the size I wanted it to be. That looks great. I used the thicker tracks there so you can see that. Simple Electronics in partnership with PCBWay. Let me get you a close-up of these boards. Look at the finish on that. They actually look pretty damn good. And we've got the spots for the screw terminals. We've got the test points here so I can solder on directly. Test points down here. The silk screening looks awesome. Look at that. I'm pretty pleased with these, but we really should put one together. So let's do that. I think I am all set up to solder now. I've got my Amazon soldering stand, which a lot of you seem to have liked. I've got my PCBWay badge here. Let me just turn on. I put a CR2032 in it. I think you can just barely see the lights coming on the backside there, but Yeah, bunch of surface mount RGB color changing LEDs. No microcontroller, they're the ones with the controller inside. And I didn't know they existed in surface mount, but I guess it makes sense. So I should give that a shot. I've also got ready a few pin headers here. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't actually tested this footprint. So I may have done the footprint wrong on this board, and this project could be a total failure. And it's really nice for PCBWay to trust me not to fail at these things, but you know, that's life. We we do what we can, but we're gonna know shortly if I can grab one of these and slide them on. Oh, it fits. I'm actually really pleased about that, because either way, this video was getting made. So let's just put these pin headers here. And I'm not sure the best way to solder these things in, but I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to put the modules on, and then I'm going to solder the module onto the pins, and then I'm going to flip it around and solder the pins to the board. I think that's about the right way to do it. So all these footprints are identical, and so if PCBWay's tolerances are fine, then they should all fit on there, unless of course, unless the eBay modules have a looser tolerance on them. So let's see. Yeah, that one fits just perfectly, and this one here fits just perfectly. Alright, and I'm also going to be honest, it has been over a week since I've soldered something, so this should be interesting, but it should actually just be fine. I'm not overly concerned about it, and neither should you be. There we go. And that's that, and this should be able now, should be able to flip it around. Yeah, and they don't fall out, and that's just because they're actually pretty straight, so yeah, you can pull it out and pop it back in without too much worries. So I'm going to put this back in the way it was, and then I'll use the functionality of this stand, flip it around, and solder the backside. And really the last components there are to solder onto this thing are these screw terminals. I like screw terminals and I don't. I have a love-hate relationship with them. Sometimes they're really the only way to go, but other times, can't be bothered going to get a screwdriver and stuff. So yeah, love-hate relationships. Some people like it, so I included it on the board, but I think I much prefer these solder pads, like the test points here. You just solder a little length of wire onto it, and then you can use spring terminals or whatever you want. So there we have it. Now I should modify the KiCad footprint. Whoops, this is upside down. Oh well. Because I find that they're a little loose in there, and when they're loose, they're just kind of hard to make sure they stay in the right place, especially when you're going to flip it upside down. So yeah, we'll see how it goes just now. So like so, and I have polarity marked on the board, so that should alleviate a few of the reverse polarity problems that you could have. 3. Maybe what I'll do for this is I won't flip it all the way upside down. go. And 4. Let's see, what if I just flip it sorta like this? Not particularly good for you, the viewer, but I think you'll excuse it in this case. And maybe I shouldn't start with the ground plane. That's like the hardest part to get warm. Both sides of this PCB have ground plane on them. So that's a lot of thermal mass. So maybe I will go for the positives here. So I'm just wetting the tip here, putting enough solder on the pad, and then pushing with my fingers so it's flush, and then releasing. Still quite a bit of thermal mass in a screw terminal. All the metal work inside. There we go. I'm going to flip it down flat so you guys can see it once that they're tacked into place. There we go, tack the last one into place. There we go. So now I can flatten this out and you guys can see a lot better what's going on here. So the positive pads are not very difficult to solder, but the negative pads, because I guess my mentality on it is that your circuit board comes with all the copper and then you etch away what you don't need. I prefer keeping as much copper as I can, so that's why I have ground pores on both sides. I think it does something for the shielding and EMI and all sorts of things, but that's actually not what I was concerned about. I think you'll find that even though it's not best practice, you don't need best practices to make a workable circuit board. Ooh, this board is now piping hot because of the ground pores. And there we go. So that's all soldered up. All we got to do now is remove all of this blue tack and get ready and adjust all these pots so that we have the output we're expecting. Alright, so it seems like I have everything ready to adjust here. So I'm going to use my favorite connection method. I will solder onto these little test points here. And I got some wire, and I've got these wire strippers kindly supplied by another maker. Check out his YouTube channel. And 22, 24, something like that. And just strip out a little. Yeah, these work really well. I like that. They're a little bit more manual. You kind of have to sort of select your length yourself, but that works. So there, and on this side I'm going to strip a little bit more because it's going to be going into a spring connector. So maybe around, yeah, maybe around that much. I did a pretty good job. I don't always remember I have these, but when I do, they're pretty nice. There we go. Alright. Now I'm going to solder a little bit here. So again, the V-in should not be actually that difficult to solder to. because it does have big traces, but it's not that big. The ground will be harder because of the ground plane. Now, KiCad actually automatically added spokes to these, so it's not as bad to solder. There we go, that wasn't too bad. But yeah, it's more difficult because you got a lot of thermal mass on the board. I'm going to solder my PVC jacketed wire here. Get that nice and hot and flowy. There we go, and same thing with the red one. Again, I just much rather these test point connections rather than the screw terminals, simply because sometimes you just want a little bit of wire sticking out there. You don't need anything like fancy. I mean, especially for the V-in is always going to be connected by wire. Might as well. There we go. Okay, so not the greatest of soldering, but should be good to go. So I'm going to hook this up to my benchtop power supply. Benchtop power supply is supplying 12 volts. So I'm not too concerned. Oh, what comes out of there? There we go. And contact. Okay, this thing is making quite a bit of switching noise, but I have not set it up yet. Okay, now you can use crocodile clips or anything like that for this, but I'll just use the volts, positive, negative. And we're getting almost V out here. Trying to hold this in such a way that I can adjust it pretty easily. And I have a screwdriver here. We're gonna just lower the knob. Here, let's see if I can angle this so you guys can see it more. There we go. Just gonna adjust the DC-DC converter at the 3.3 volt position. Yeah, this is actually kind of difficult to do. Maybe I can just pop it onto the screws on the screw terminal. Yeah, that works. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and adjust this. Okay, down to 7.3. I'm aiming to get 3.3 on this one. Go a little bit higher up. Very finicky. 3.27. Bumped it in the wrong direction. Yeah, that's going to be difficult to get right on the money. That's pretty close. Alright. Next one, I'm expecting this one here to be 5 volts. So I'm going to drop that down. Rotating clockwise will give you a decrease in voltage. 5.1, that's good. I like my 5 volts to be slightly higher, which is nice. And then over here, again, I want to be just slightly above 9. I'll tune this one down. 9.5, I'll go a little bit lower. Not too low. 9.3, and this one should be the 12 volts pass through, and it is. So there you have it. I've got myself a little easy benchtop variable yet fixed power supply, And all thanks to PCBWay. You get 10 of these guys, and actually they're very cheap. I think your first order you get a large discount. You get a coupon on your first order. I also have a link down in the description if you want to buy an order with my affiliate link. That would be great. It is their 6th anniversary. They've been doing this for a while, so I mean they're also giving away these badges randomly on orders, so you might get one or you might not. But either way, this is a cool little project, and make one for yourself. Lots of fun, and as you've seen, not all that difficult to design. Thanks again for watching.